Channel 13 News at 5 starts now.
Well, obviously, as a younger person going into my next few years, I want housing to be affordable. You know, interest rates are through the roof. Inflation is at an all-time high, you know, and especially abortion.
And I hope people see it for what it is and vote for this country, because Trump is for this country. He wants to make us great. We're the greatest country, and if this country goes down, where am I going to go?
Dozens of supporters gathering at a Henderson rally hosted by Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance today. And with the Silver State being one of the most important states for this year's election, winning over Nevadans is top of mind for the Republican Party. And thanks for joining us live at 5. I'm Tricia Keene.
And I'm Abel Garcia. Vance was expected to touch on a number of topics, such as affordable housing, immigration, and inflation.
And did he address Nevada voters' concerns?
Now we start our team coverage with senior political reporter Steve Sebelius, who was at the Vance rally in Henderson as well. And Steve, what did Vance really speak about?
Well, Abel and Tricia, just like you said, I went to today's rally listening for 3 issues that polls have shown are important to locals. That's immigration, the economy and inflation, and the high price of housing. Vance talked about the first 2, but not about housing. He did talk about immigration a lot. He criticized Vice President Kamala Harris since President Biden assigned her to work on the immigration issue and blamed the administration for crimes committed by immigrants. Vance promised to get tough on immigration. Listen to this.
Now, here's what President Trump and I believe about loyalty. Loyalty to this country is closing the border, not opening it up. But to all illegal aliens, President Trump and I have a different message. If you are here against the laws of this country, pack your bags because you're going home in 6 months.
Vance also had plenty to say about the economy, saying politicians had shipped American jobs overseas by approving trade deals that hurt workers. Here's a little bit of what he said.
So let's talk a little bit about what we believe in the Republican Party. We believe that 1 million cheap knockoff toasters aren't worth the price of a single American manufacturing job.
Vance didn't speak about something that affects a lot of you was President Trump's proposal to end taxes on tips. That might have disappointed some people in the crowd. Take a look. I snapped this photo. People holding signs that read Trump Vance on one side and no taxes on tips on the other. Our team coverage continues right now with anchor Joe Mueller, who's been talking to voters outside the rally all day to get their thoughts on Vance's speech. Joe?
Yeah, a lot of people talking about no tax on tips. A lot of people work on the Las Vegas Strip behind us here, as many of you at home obviously know about that. Well, he talked about a number of topics. There were things that people wanted him to talk about that were important to them. We caught up with some people before they went inside of that high school, Liberty High School in Henderson, about what they would like to hear him say.
What's the most important issue to you that you would like to hear him talk about today?
The border.
Okay.
Oh, I have a few important issues. Economy, for sure. I make pretty good money, but I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
And we just heard Steve say the topics he did touch on, so I definitely wanted to get outside before everyone else did at the rally earlier today to catch up with those same people to ask them what they thought about Vance's performance. Your reaction to Vance's speech here today?
He's very exciting.
You said the most important thing to you was immigration. Do you think he talked about what you said?
Yeah, because the illegal aliens, as we call them, are bankrupting small towns all across America.
Before you went in, we talked about the most important thing to you, which was the economy. Do you think he talked enough about that in there?
I do. Yeah. I am excited about what I heard, what I saw in there, all the enthusiasm in the room, all the enthusiasm he had. I want to get back to not worrying about having to buy milk.
You know, a lot of people before I went in there were saying they don't know much about Vance. They don't know what he'll have to say here in Nevada, a swing state. And they were curious to see what he would say here. And he did say a number of those topics that people wanted to hear, including the economy and obviously immigration, and then talking about the border there today. Well, from here in southern Nevada, Vance will head up north to Reno and then also go to Arizona later this week, where he will have a rally and then also visit the border down there.